asked what kind of recipes I use when I'm cooking game birds, it's not really game bird season right now, but need something to pass the time, right? I'll hit some lights. So, kind of got lucky digging in the back of the freezer and found some leftover pheasant breast. It's funny because I write the date on those vacuum sealed bags. It's actually birds from 2014. So it's 3-year-old in the freezer. Been in there for a little bit, but everything looks good still. And the recipe I'm going to be working on tonight is just kind of a take off of my favorite recipe. It was my favorite thing to eat when I was growing up that my grandma always made, which is called cream dried beef. And normally you'd serve that over toast. She always served it over biscuits, but a little addition of the pheasant, which would be something different. And we're going to go over zucchini just because the garden's been going crazy this year and we've got zucchini everywhere. So anyways, first of all, I'm going to start by, I'm going to cut this pheasant into strips. I'm going to go across the grain. So you kind of cut it short lengthwise. And I'm not going to be real picky about it because it's going into a pasta dish. So we're just going to put a quick cut on this. I've got 4 breasts pulled out here. The tough part with pheasant is that it's a really lean meat, not much fat on it, so also not a whole lot of flavor really in the breast meat, so it takes on whatever it is that you're putting around it. These aren't shot up too bad. Everything kind of looks good. I'm just going to put a quick cut on them. A couple of smaller birds and a couple of bigger ones. One bad spot, found a piece of shot there. Take that out. You could leave that in. You always say that the person who finds a shot, the person who chips their tooth is the lucky one, right? A lot of people probably know this, at least the old timers probably know this type of recipe. I think it was old school. I think there were MREs back in World War II that were cream dried beef. I don't know if that's where kind of my grandma got the, started with it, or my grandpa got started with it, or if it was just something that they used to do. Dried beef is certainly a cheap ingredient, and growing up during the Depression, that's something that they would have been certainly looking for. Take the tendons out of those. There you have it. Just cut those 4 breasts up real quick. You can kind of see what I'm going for there. I'm going to go ahead and start heating the saucepan up. I'm going to wash my hands real quick here. So some of you may not even know what dried beef is. Comes in a can, in the canned meat aisle. I probably won't use this because they didn't have the smaller cans. I won't use it all, but I'll use some of it. So really salty, cured meat. It's sliced. Super salty. A lot of times my grandma would actually rinse the beef before she would put it in the to kind of get some of that salt off there. I'm going to go ahead and take a small stack of that. I'm just going to slice this into kind of ribbons. There we go. I'm going to take about half a stick of butter and throw it in the bottom of my saucepan. Let that melt real quick. So the other name, as I was getting to, the other name that people might recognize this recipe as, I think that I forget what age I was at when my grandma actually told me what the old timers would call it. They'd call it shit on a shingle. So that's probably, or SOS, probably what some of you old timers might know the recipe as. And I really liked that growing up. And it's kind of a base for a lot of the recipes that I do. It's where I learned how to, first learned how to make a roux. And I'll show you kind of how I go about that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to have to salt this because as I said, that beef is really salty. So I'm going to go ahead and throw our pheasant and our beef into that butter. Bring you over here and show you what that looks like here in a second. I'm just going to stir it up. What my Grammie always used to say when I'd watch her cook this hundreds of times, literally hundreds of times, without the pheasant. But she'd always be looking for the edges of the beef to curl. Let me show you what that looks like in the pan so you can kind of see what we got going on. So I've got that butter in there just to add a fat component for when we do get to the roux stage. I may need to add a little bit more. We'll kind of see where we get. The addition of that pheasant makes this quite a bit meatier dish than what the original is. You can see my helpers are down here too. That's Rio and Ida. They're obviously here to make sure that I do this right. Probably more like make sure that I don't drop anything. So I'm not going to add any salt because, like I said, the beef is really salty coming out of that can. I will add some pepper. Not a ton. You probably normally see this done by professional chefs in a pan more like this. We're going to use that to cook our pasta in. But I'm doing it in a saucepan because that's what my Grammie always used to do. Even with all that pheasant. You can cut that piece up very good. That one over here. So I'm really just kind of waiting for that pheasant to cook through. And the edges of my beef to curl up. So definitely not the traditional take on this, but you could do the same recipe. Put it over biscuits. It's a good morning breakfast thing, brunch. If you're looking to eat some birds. Probably turned the legs of these birds into burritos or pot pie long ago. The mystery bag with the year on it, in the back of the freezer. It's a good find though. Let me show you the zucchini real quick while I'm over here waiting on our bird to cook. I went ahead and spiralized it so that I had it done, but you can just kind of see those are zucchini noodles. It's a great thing, the spiralizer, to have to give you something to do with all of your extra zucchini. Besides just making zucchini bread or muffins, zucchini brownies. So our pheasant's almost cooked through. And probably what you could do if you wanted to do it a little bit different than what I'm doing here is you could actually grill that pheasant first. The danger is that you dry the bird out even more. I mean, that's a bird that's been in the freezer for quite a while. And so if I cook it in the butter, at least we've got a fat component going on there. But grilling it and slicing it would be just as, probably as good a way to do it for this kind of pasta dish. So we're right about there. I'll show you kind of what we got working. I think we got enough butter. I like my mix of beef to pheasant right now. Like that ratio, looking pretty good. Looking for the edges of my beef to curl up a little bit. Looks like they're about there. So here's where it gets fun. I'm going to add some flour into that. Got my fat component, which is that butter. I just got regular old flour here. I'm going to make a roux. I'm going to turn this fire down a little bit. I don't want it to get ahead of me. And really, I'm just going to put enough flour on there to kind of coat most of those pieces of pheasant for when I add our milk in. No, I have no earthly idea how much. I'm going to start about right there and see where we are, see if it coats my pieces to my liking. It soaks up most of that. Close. So I'd say I added maybe a quarter cup. Now I'm just looking to get that to coat all that meat, and that's going to be our thickener for when I add the milk. Alright, let's take a look at that and show you what it looks like. See, it's just kind of soaked up all that butter. Pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead. I think if you really wanted to up your fat level on this, you could probably use cream, but I'm just going to use standard milk, whole milk. Add a little bit. Let this come back up, see where we are thickness-wise. It really comes down to how thick you like your sauce. Now let that come back up to a boil and see where we are on the thickness scale. it's coming together. Gonna show you that. That's pretty meaty, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more milk. It's just starting to come up to temperature and really thicken it up. The nerve-wracking part, right? Not really, this is a pretty easy recipe. I'm never really concerned about the proportions too much. My Grammy actually wrote the cream dried beef recipe down for me multiple times. And I think every version of it is a little bit different. I don't know if that was because she adjusted the recipe over the years or if she never really thought about proportions when she was putting it together. I always thought it was great. We always had it with green beans and applesauce. She'd try and make me eat broccoli, that wasn't gonna happen. So that's heating back up and it's thickening back up. It's going to be about right, I think, as far as the consistency goes. Just to bump it up a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and add some Romano cheese in there. I'm not going to get over cheesy with it. There's a lot going on, but I add a dollop of cheese. Since we're going over pasta, you want some of that traditional pasta note, pasta sauce feeling at least. I don't want it to turn into macaroni and cheese. A little bit more though. Don't you guys see that? It's kind of about where we want to be. The sauce is good and thick and creamy. Like I said, you could probably use actual cream when you're making this. Go a little bit on the lighter side. If you had some toast or biscuits, you'd be ready to go right there. Slap it down. I'm gonna make this pasta real quick though. Go ahead and turn this way down on low, let her sit there. Looks good. The other thing I forgot to say about why you cut that pheasant cross grain is because, especially older birds, they can get really chewy, not much fat content. A 2-year-old bird's going to have pretty tough muscle. You can also pound these out sometimes if you want to help tenderize them, but you always want to cut cross grain so that you don't have those long, chewy threads of meat in there. If you cut cross grain on those breasts, those pieces tend to be a lot more manageable. All right, sauce looks good. We're gonna go ahead and turn that way down low. I'm gonna get the other pan fired up here. Now, the cool thing about zucchini pasta, lots of cool things. I mean, if you're a low carb person, this is kind of a way you can have a pasta dish without going over the top. I'm gonna set this on the back burner. Probably going to be lava hot. Good. So if you're low carb in it, you can go that way with this. You can do these ribbons at different thicknesses. And these are pretty, this is kind of the thin version of those. You don't boil zucchini pasta. It's got enough moisture content in it that you don't have to worry about boiling it. You just heat a pan with some olive oil. If you want, you can put some garlic in with it. We're just going to go with standard salt. Maybe a little pepper. I want to get that pan good and hot though. Get that olive oil good and hot. bring you over this way. Got that thing cooking. Once that oil gets good and hot, I'm just going to go ahead and take my noodles and throw them right into the olive oil. And these will cook down because they've got that high moisture content in them, so you actually want to put more in than what you think you're going to use or need. Because once that moisture cooks out, they really cook down. I'm just going to get them kind of tossing around here. Hot pan, hot olive oil. Go ahead and salt these. Probably don't need too much because I guarantee that beef is plenty salty. Show you how that's looking. Super easy, not much to it. And you're just going to test them. You know, same way you test pasta. You try and get the level of doneness you want on your zucchini noodle. While that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and take some green onion here. That'll be my garnish. Get the ends off. Dice up a little bit of green onion just to finish this off. About there. So I'm just watching for my noodles to get done. About there. I don't know what's made zucchini such a banner year this year. The beans didn't do anything very good, but the peppers and the zucchinis have absolutely taken off. Just about there. These two are disappointed. Nothing's been dropped. They're still searching. Living with bird dogs. I'm going to go ahead and give my sauce a quick heat through again. Still pretty warm. Big ladle out. can see how much that cooked down too. Got our zucchini noodles. Sauce is getting hot again. Ladle our cream dried beef and pheasant over the top. Gonna hit it with a little bit more cheese. A few green onions. There we go. Pretty fast dinner. Something good for the birds that are in the back of your freezer. Easy to do. A little rip on my Grammie's recipe, and there we go. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Ultimate Upland all the time. And we'll probably be posting more stuff. Most of the time our recipes, we're using the people that we hunt with as guinea pigs at camp. The wild bird dogs don't like it. Nothing was dropped. Ultimate Upland all the time. Make sure you follow us, and thanks for watching.